Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jaguars have agreed to a 5-year, $275 million contract extension.
Here's the reality. You now have 6 guys at $50 million or above. The market keeps increasing. And you mentioned a few names. Let's talk about these guys.
The Trevor Lawrence one is going to surprise some people, was the fact that it went to $55 million per year, because that now bears on the Tua situation, on Jordan Love.
Welcome back to the most unprofessional sports channel on YouTube. Welcome back to Swivel Chair Sports. I'm your host, Zach Purple, here with the host today, Aaron. Go and say hi, Aaron.
Hi, if you like our content, be sure to like and subscribe and leave a comment and let us know what you think.
Yep, on our way to 250 subscribers, so it would mean a lot if you subscribe. But other than that, let's go ahead and get into it. So in this video, we'll be taking a look, probably about a week late now, but taking a look at the Trevor Lawrence contract extension down with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Obviously, this past week, Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars agreed to a 5-year, $275 million contract extension worth up to $282.5 million through incentives. The deal also has a $200 million guarantee, and $142 million of that was fully guaranteed at signing. So obviously a massive contract that sent shockwaves throughout the NFL. Becomes tied with Joe Burrow for the highest paid quarterback by annual value, because Mahomes, I believe, still has the highest total contract amongst quarterbacks. But now Trevor Lawrence will be making an average of $55 million per year, which is, some people are saying maybe a little bit of an overpay. Obviously, he has had some inconsistency issues at the NFL throughout his short career with Jacksonville. Did make the playoffs once a couple years ago, where he came back from a massive deficit at halftime to defeat the Los Angeles Chargers and move on to the second round. But other than that, has not been able to make it to the playoffs in any other season of his career. Of course, it's only 3 years long, so still a long ways to go. But yeah, I guess we'll get started with Aaron. What are your first impressions of this new contract for Trevor Lawrence?
I think this is the norm from here on out. Do I think he's necessarily earned this contract? Absolutely not. One playoff win. I mean, at least Joe Burrow's been to the Super Bowl. But this is the Jaguars taking a swing on what they hope to be their franchise guy, and hope to see to kind of a return to the Lawrence of 2 years ago, where they had much better success and made the playoffs, won a playoff game. However ugly that game was. But this is what you have to do to win in the NFL. You have to find a quarterback.
Yeah, obviously there's a lot of people coming out saying he hasn't deserved it, or he hasn't earned it yet. I mean, obviously, if you look at just the stats alone, you would probably assume that as well. Because, yeah, absolutely, just looking at the stats, 11,770 yards, 58 touchdowns to 39 interceptions. So pretty bad touchdown-interception ratio throughout his short career. Led the league in interceptions as a rookie back in 2021. Then these last 2 years, he's kind of picked it up a little bit. Last year, obviously suffered a lot of injury, so we didn't get to quite see his full potential there at the end of the season specifically. And I think that's a big reason they also ended up missing out on the playoffs. Otherwise, I think we may be looking at a quarterback that's won maybe 2, possibly even 3 playoff games at this point. But unfortunately, with the ankle problem, we weren't able to witness that last year. But yeah, kind of like you said, this is just going to end up being the norm from here on out. I mean, we saw a similar contract with Jared Goff earlier this offseason, signing a big deal up in Detroit. Of course, he at least made it to the conference championship game last year, but they're clearly paying Lawrence off of potential. We all knew he had, buttloads of it coming out of college. Highest touted quarterback we've seen since Andrew Luck. So we all knew he was going to be special, or we all thought he was going to be special. Haven't really seen the full extent of that yet in the NFL. But this is clearly a situation where they want to pay him now so that if he does blow up this next year, go out there, throw for 5,000 yards, 50 touchdowns, and 10 picks, they're going to end up having to owe him $60 million a year instead of $55 million a year. So that's kind of the way I'm looking at it, is pay your quarterback now. That way you don't have to worry about it later on down the line. What are kind of your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. You look at the other quarterbacks that are due up, Dak, Tua, and Jordan Love. If Jordan Love has any semblance of success that he had last season, he's going to get paid massively if he doesn't get paid beforehand. Kind of same with Tua. Those are not two quarterbacks that you want to be paying your quarterback after, I think, because they've had success in the past, and I think their teams are going to look to keep them around for a little while. Dak is kind of the anomaly of these, remaining quarterbacks to be paid. And so I don't know how comparable he is, but you kind of brought up the Trevor Lawrence's stats. He's fifth in passing yards in his first 3 seasons, behind Justin Herbert, Andrew Luck, Peyton Manning, and Joe Burrow. So that's not too shabby company. Yeah, that touchdown interception ratio, not the best. But we've also got to remember, we're talking about Jacksonville here. It's not like they had some booming offense that he came into.
Well, yeah, and if I'm being honest, I think we could kind of wipe the rookie year off the slate entirely with Urban Meyer being the head coach, not really giving a shit. So, yeah, I totally see where you're coming from there. As far as how this may affect future contracts, I mean, obviously, we kind of hinted on it earlier with Tua, Jordan Love, Dak Prescott, sure, but let's kind of focus on those first 2 guys because they're kind of in the same situation that Trevor is, coming off their rookie contract, looking to sign that first massive extension. You already kind of talked about it a little bit, but Jordan Love, I think, is kind of the big question mark here, because I think Green Bay could have got away with giving him like $160, maybe $180 million this year over 4 years, If he goes out there this next season, puts up 4,500 yards, 35, 40 touchdowns, less than 15 picks, similar to what he did last season, wins another playoff game, maybe 2 this time, I think they're going to be looking at a $200 million quarterback themselves. So what are kind of your thoughts on the Packers?
I think they might be looking at a $300 million quarterback. If I'm being honest.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on them kind of, standing pat, choosing not to pay him this offseason?
Well, I mean, it's his first season starting, so I understand why they want to be certain of what they've got. I mean, he sat behind Aaron Rodgers for so long. They kind of thought they had a good idea of what they had, but just to kind of keep him around, they gave him that little deal, and then he went out and had a great season for his first season. And this is a franchise that I think likes to use their quarterback as their image. I mean, Favre, Rodgers, not a lot of other massive faces. So I could see them giving Jordan Love a massive deal, and then just kind of doing what they did with Aaron Rodgers, piecemeal sort of weapons just to keep that offense afloat, and then try and get as good a defense as they can.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from there. They've got a really young team around them too, so I don't imagine that they're going to be hurting much cap-wise anytime soon because their team's so young. They're all still on, those rookie year deals for some of those guys, but the important pieces are, going to be there for a while. So you can probably afford, like you said, to wait 1 more year, make sure you know what you have in Jordan Love, make sure he is that franchise quarterback before giving him that big payday. I just hope that, like you said, that maybe looking at a $300 million quarterback now, if he goes out there and has a borderline MVP caliber year, whether or not that's going to end up mattering down the line, I don't know, because the cap just continues to seem to expand. So every year it seems like these contracts are just going to continue to get bigger and bigger.
That's $300 million for 5 years. That's not the Mahomes $450 for 10.
Yeah, like the Mahomes contract. I guess let's talk about that real quick before getting into Tua. The Mahomes contract looks better and better and better by the year. And he's
barely top 10 highest paid quarterbacks.
Yeah, barely. He's number 10 right now at like $43 million a year, $45 million a year, yeah. So, yeah, looking back, I know a lot of people, not everybody, it was probably 50-50, I feel like. Half of the football fan base was laughing at the Chiefs, acting like, you just gave $500 million to one player, you freaking morons. The other half entirely saw what the Chiefs were doing and were like, no, you guys, you don't understand. Like, they locked their quarterback in for 10 years at a value that's just going to continue getting more and more favorable every single season with the cap growing and growing and growing. And I guess that kind of brings me to the Tua situation. Because they had an opportunity, maybe last offseason, maybe even the season before that, but probably last offseason, to go out and pay their guy that they've committed to, honestly, since day one for the most part. Outside of when he gets hurt, he's in there under center every game he's able to be. So they knew from the jump that this was their guy. He kept getting better every year. Rookie year, 1,800, 11-5. Second year, 2,600, 16-10. Third year, 3,500, 25-8. Could have chose to pay him last offseason, I feel like. Give him like, $160, $180 million contract that I kind of mentioned earlier that Jordan Love may have been looking at. Maybe even a little over 200. But now, last season, 4,600 yards, led the league in passing yards, 29 touchdowns, 14 picks, so a little high on the interceptions, but I think we've seen that, he's able to be safe with the football if he needs to be, but when you got guys like Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle running down the field, you're going to throw it up, give them an opportunity to make a play. Do you think by them choosing to wait on paying Tua yet another year, as he just continues to seemingly get better, do you think it's going to end up coming back to bite the Dolphins in the ass?
Yeah. Yeah, I do. I don't necessarily know why they didn't pay him or haven't paid him yet. I would say I can see why they didn't pay him last offseason because he hadn't made it through a full season yet.
Yeah.
Kind of came into the league with some injury issues, but he had a great year last year.
Really good year.
And their offense pretty much the same as last year.
Yeah.
So I don't know why they haven't paid him yet, but I would expect similar results, if not better results this year. And they're going to owe him a boatload of money. So I don't know why they don't just get it out of the way.
Yeah, it seems like they just, I don't know, they paid Jalen Waddle this offseason too. So that was kind of interesting. They paid Jalen Waddle. Obviously, we know the Tyreek Hill contract, which is huge. They have two of the highest paid receivers on the team. And now they're probably looking at a $300 million quarterback, assuming he has a year similar to last year. Or close to $300 million at least. I don't understand. I just don't get it. Like, why wouldn't you pay your guy? You've committed to this dude since day one. Everything else that this franchise has done, as far as Tua Tagovailoa is concerned, indicates that this is their guy. This is the guy that they're, gonna go the next 5, 10 plus seasons with. Just pay him. Get it over with. Like, I don't understand. Like you said, I guess before last season, you could argue injury concerns were still there. Like you said, hadn't made through a full season. Concussion specifically was a big issue with him. Last season, played all 17 games. Damn near 70% completion percentage. 4,500 passing yards. Almost 30 touchdowns. You probably wish you had a little bit more out of him there, but you had one of the best running duos in the league last season. So yeah, it's mind-boggling that they didn't just go ahead and pay him this offseason. It makes you wonder, is there still a little bit of doubt? Is there still a little bit of doubt around his health, maybe? That's the only thing that I can think of.
Yeah, like I said, I have no clue why they haven't paid him yet. It's, for these top quarterbacks, the number
Just gonna keep getting
to
bigger.
me it's irrelevant though. They're gonna have to pay him. It's the most important position on the team. So, waiting an extra year money wise doesn't, I don't see a big deal in that. Sure, 5-10 million more a year, but you're gonna do that eventually anyway with whoever you decide to go with. So it's like the faith in him thing kind of question that you brought up. Are they sure he's their guy, or do they have more injury concerns? I don't know why they haven't paid him yet, but
Yeah.
they should.
Yeah, no, they should definitely pay him, get it over with. I mean, they've got one of the most explosive offenses in the league, and he's a big reason why, being able to, admittedly, put the ball in the money more often than not. I mean, I know a lot of Chiefs fans were clowning Tyreek Hill for choosing Tua over Patrick Mahomes at first. And yeah, admittedly, most receivers probably would rather have Patrick Mahomes. But, I mean, Tyreek Hill wasn't lying when he said this dude could dot it up. Like, Tua Tagovailoa is as accurate as any quarterback in the league, and with those weapons around him where you can just dump it off and let them create for themselves, I mean, it's the perfect system for him. So, I don't understand the hesitancy. Go ahead and get it over with. Jordan Love makes more sense to be a little hesitant on because he's only done it 1 year, but Tua's been getting better every single season. So, it'll be interesting next offseason to see how both of these respective franchises treat these guys, assuming they both, come out and have similar seasons as they had last year. I think the moral of the story with the Trevor Lawrence situation is going to end up being pay your guy early so you don't have to worry about it later. Because if Trevor Lawrence comes out, just tears it up next season, wins playoff game or two, we're all going to look kind of stupid for questioning this decision. So, unless you got anything else, Aaron, I think that'll do it for this episode of the most unprofessional sports channel on YouTube, Swivel Chair Sports. I've been your host, Zach Circleberg Merkel, here with the coast today. Aaron, go and say bye, Aaron.
Bye.
All right. Please make sure to like and subscribe if you made it this far. Thank you all to watching this video. Make sure to go check out some of our other videos. We recently finished up our off-season grading series for every division in the NFL. So I'll have that playlist somewhere around here at the conclusion of this video. Other than that, deuces, and have a good day.